Hey everyone, welcome to episode 16 of You Own It with Jerry Thompson. It is almost September 2025, and today I want to talk about what I've identified as 7 key factors to getting the most money for your house. And to give you a general idea, typically people that are thinking about selling their house, there are 7 things that help you to get the most money. Uh, One is price it right. 2 is curb appeal. Have the drive-by appeal of the house, looking as clean and as sharp so that if somebody went by the house, they like it. Pristine interior. Have it staged and ready for photography. Good timing. You want to pick a good time to put your house on the market. And that's not necessarily by time of the year. That may be based on supply and demand. Hire a good real estate pro. Make sure you get decent exposure, maximum exposure, and good follow-up in your process. Make sure the house is available to be shown. And make sure you have professional negotiation or successful negotiation. And a good real estate pro will help you through that. So let's talk about each of these topics individually, and I'll try to give you kind of a general idea of what I think, what it means. And if you have all 7 of these, you will get the most money for the house that you possibly can. And oftentimes, people fall short in this. They think that the buyer somehow is supposed to be the one that's inconvenienced to sell it for the most money. Not the case. It's you as the seller. Selling a house can be painful in a way, because you have to prepare your house as though you don't live there, and you have to make it available for strangers to come through on a moment's notice in order for them to make a decision to make it their house. The best fundamental starting point in that entire process mentally for you should be is it is no longer your house. It is an economic investment, and you are trying to maximize it, just as you would if you had an old car you were going to put at the street. You would clean it, vacuum the inside, detail it, clean the hood, set it on the road, and price it right, and you'll get more activity. House is exactly the same way. So let's talk about number 1 of the 7. Price it right. I know I've talked about in a previous podcast pricing strategy, and I always say I call the seller's pricing decision the Goldilocks decision, which is too hot, too cold, or just right. When you are pricing a house, to price the house right, what you want to do is be the house that is the most attractive at the best price. Now, does that mean price it at $1? We had somebody in Buffalo a couple weeks ago that priced a house at $1 just to prove that the buyers would pay what it's worth anyways, and they did. I think they had something like 82 offers or something, including offers at $1, which, I guess if you want to sort it through 70 offers that are worthless to get to the 10 that are value, price it at $1. That would be what I would consider to be a too hot price. The activity, the frenzy, you can narrow your headache. Too cold would be too high, and just right is where the sweet spot. So when you're pricing your house, you have to pretend it's an investment, as I mentioned before. You have to step outside the house, pretend it's not yours anymore. Get rid of the emotion of you have the best countertops, or the emotion of the memory of the holidays in the house, or your grass seed is better than the neighbor's grass seed. Because honestly, most buyers don't care about that. What they care about is location, presentation, and whether or not it appears that you cared for the house. And they want to know that when they're buying it, they feel as though they're getting a value. So when you're talking about pricing it right, pretend it's not your house. Go through comparables with your agent, which will show you what others like your house have sold for. And then go through the old-fashioned Ben Franklin list. plus and minus on each individual house. So let's say you have a house that you think is worth around 400. And your neighbor sold for 400 and it's the same house, except yours in a little better condition. Well, yours might sell for 410, you hope. And then one down the street that was bigger than yours sold only for 380 and yours a little worse than that. So on that one, it might be 370. If you look at 7 or 8 of those houses, you put them together, you come up with an average. Let's say that average says 400. Your choice in pricing is going to be the following. Price it at 349 to 374. Try to create a feeding frenzy where buyers feel as though it's such a good value. You end up with 10 or 15 offers. And in many circumstances, that will end up getting you more money than a high price because you have so many competitive bids and the buyers feel as though it's a value. They will fight amongst themselves to get it. Price it at 384 to 400, which is around what you want, but a little bit below. That's kind of the sweet spot. That's what I call your just right marketing price. It's low enough that buyers won't hesitate to pay too much or over the price. Maybe too much is the wrong word, but over your list price to get you a maximum value. But yet it's not so low that you have to put up with 80 showings of many people that can't qualify for what they're ultimately going to pay. And then too high is when you decide, the one house around the corner sold for 450. I know everything else sells for 400. I think mine's like that one. I'm going to price it at 450. The end result of a too high price can be ultimately a sale price that ends up lower than what you want, or a timing and an amount of headaches that ends up to be a higher emotional stress level than maybe makes sense. And I'll give you a couple perfect examples. I'll give you an example of a listing I did not get. So I remember interviewing for a listing earlier this year and recommending to the seller a price that was in the lower 500s. And the seller said, okay, that makes sense. I see all the comparisons. I see where you're coming up with the number. We talked about the Goldilocks strategy, which, you ultimately as a seller get to make the choice. You can price it high and it could take you a while and you can end up kind of creating a perception in the market that your house is too high even after you reduce it, so that you're chasing buyers. You're not in control of your own destiny. You can price it right, which is in the low 5s, and buyers will come in, see value in it. They may pay over it. They may pay way over it, but more than likely they'll pay relatively close to list price, but you'll be done in a short window, maybe with multiple offers. And you can price it a little low where you're going to get multiple offers, assuming it's worth it. Sometimes you price low and the house isn't really worth it. You think you're pricing it low. The agent thinks they're pricing it low, but there's defects with the house that prevent buyers from buying it that maybe nobody saw, nobody thought of until the market responds to it. But a lower price usually, let's say on a $400,000 house, a price of $374,900, usually will create 20, 30 showings and 10 offers and a sale price that ends up getting at the end over 400. So you then kind of make that choice in that strategy based on a little bit on your personality and a little bit of consultation with the agent. But the best way to get the most money is to get the right price. That's number one, strategic pricing. Pick a good one. Listen to your agent's recommendations and listen to what they're saying. To tell you the tale of the one that I didn't get at the beginning of the year, we recommended low 500s. I was sending the paperwork to the seller, and then all of a sudden the seller kind of disappeared on me. And 4 or 5 days later, it showed up on the market for $650 with another agent. Somebody decided that it was worth more, right? The market was going to pay more, and the seller bought into that. What ended up happening, the seller made a decision, put it on the market, hung around, dropped the price, hung around, dropped the price, hung around, dropped the price. They ultimately ended up in the low 500s when they sold it with that other agent, but it took them 4 months. So you're going to get the same price. If you pick a good agent and pick a good price, you're going to get it quicker, and sometimes you'll exceed your expectations. So price it right. Number 2, killer curb appeal. You need to present the house so when people drive by it, its landscaping is attractive, there's no peeling paint, the lawn is mowed, the driveway is plowed in a snow area, that you are presenting the house well. Houses that are unkept, trees aren't trimmed, bushes are overgrown, landscaping is a sign that the house is unkept more than just in the yard. Second key to getting the most money is to make sure when people drive by your house, and they will, they'll see the photography, they will drive by the house, they see, hey, that's a pretty nice looking exterior. You have a junk car parked along the side of the garage, get rid of it. You have a light fixture that's busted, fix it. You have hedges that need to be trimmed, weeding that needs to be done. Get the house in the type of condition on the exterior that you maybe have never had it in before you sell. Remember, it is no longer your house. This is an investment. That does not cost a lot of money to do. It takes elbow grease. I always say when you're going to sell a house, make an effort. Don't pull the checkbook out and write big checks. Make an effort. Avoid the checks. If you're writing a check for somebody for 10 grand to do something, then maybe you got to consider the overall condition of the house, and maybe you have to price it accordingly. Because one of the things is people will have an investment. They think, they're hoping to get 380 for the house. And I'll say, you've got to have it all in A+ condition. And they'll go out and decide all of a sudden they're going to remodel both bathrooms, the kitchen, the porch, put a roof on it, fix up the front, they spend $62,000, and then they get $402 for it. And they go, well, what the heck? Well, your location is going to dictate some of that price too. So just be cautious. But if you can get your curb appeal done with a couple weekends of work, kick butt on the curb appeal. Because once people see it online and they drive by it, you want to lock them in. You want to pull them into the house so that they see it. And that's where step number 3, Pottery Barn catalog comes in. I always say professional staging, right? You want your house, if you've ever gotten a catalog, one of the things I always tell people when they're preparing the house to sell, you need to do basically 3 things off the bat. 1, get rid of things that are not going to move with them. And A, B, and C in that 1 is donate items or give away or throw out items that are not going with you, or sell them. They're not moving with you. It's the end of the road. You don't need to leave them in the house anymore. You don't need to leave them on the kitchen counter. Don't need to leave them on the table. Don't need to leave them in your closets. They can go. Whatever way you want to do it. Sell them, donate them, throw them out, put them at the curb. I don't care. Get rid of items that are not going with you. Number 2, seasonal items that you will not be using before you move. Pack, tote them, I say. Take those totes you buy at Ace Hardware or Value or Lowe's or Home Depot, and label them winter coats. If it's the spring, take the winter coats, put them in the totes. If you want, take them to a storage facility, or if you have a large area in your basement or garage, orderly pack them up. Leave wall space available so the buyer can see your space, but have them orderly packed up so that when buyers walk in the front door, walk into the kitchen, you look like everything in the house is staged like it's a catalog shoot. There shouldn't be anything on tables that is not there for a decorative purpose. Your end table in your living room shouldn't have a coffee cup, a pile of mail, magazines, a lamp, and some cat toy. Okay? It should have the lamp and anything else that's there for decorative purposes. Your kitchen table, plates, placemats, fake wine glasses, thing with the flowers, or you can take a wine, shoot. You don't have to go that far, but do not have stuff on there that just creates a mess. I know you need to live in your house when you're selling it, but you want to live like a minimalist. Some of the most successful sales I've had, and the ones where people have gotten exceptional amounts of money, are those people who have minimized the clutter in their home. And it's a fun exercise because it also helps you feel better about how you live. It's really amazing when you get rid of things like clothes you haven't touched in 10 years and stuff like that, how much better you'll feel about it. Stage your house on the inside, because now what's happened is the process of the buyer is, I see a house with a good price. I've driven by it. The yard looks great. Now when they walk in the front door, they go, my God, look at this house. Look at the house this live. And then the assumption is it's an A+ condition. And they will write the check because of the way you treat your house. Professionally stage. Make it. That doesn't mean you have to hire a pro to do it. You can do it with collaborative effort with your agent, where you do the work, agent comes by, takes a look, says, okay, I think this works. This doesn't work. Remove this, move this. You have too many appliances on the kitchen counter, coffee thing and the toaster's okay, but not, the other 8 items, your air fryer and all that stuff. You want to minimalize those items. Factor number 4 is timing. And often, I did a podcast early in the year, what's the best time to sell a house? And there was a certain date in April. But one of the things also, there are not only seasonal factors, there are economic factors on your timing. So when you want to get the most money for the house, fundamentally, you want to hit the market at a time where there's a low supply, there's high demand. So if you're thinking about selling and you've already interviewed your agent, you picked your price, you're beginning the staging process, during that process where you're preparing the house, you and your agent should be collaboratively talking about what's hit the market and how quickly is it going off the market. Is there new competition? Let's say you're going to put your house on the market for $400,000 and you're in the process of staging, and 6 other houses hit the market at $400,000 and only 2 of them sold the last weekend. And now you have a four house drag in the marketplace. Do you want to do it then? You have to make a decision. If you're going to be the best house in the market because you've done the factors to prepare, it's not going to matter as much because the buyers are going to gravitate to yours. If you're priced better than those, you're in better condition with better curb appeal, your interior is better, you'll win. However, if you begin to see, if it's a sale of convenience, as I call it, you're retiring, you're going to move south. You don't know where you're going to go yet. You're going to move south. And you don't need to do it this year. You can do it in the next 6 months, 9 months, 2 years. Doesn't matter to you. And you want to maximize your value. Do it at a time where there's limited inventory. And your agent says, hey, there's a percolation of supply, of buyer supply, that's waiting for every piece of inventory that hits the market and pulling it off the market. If you are trading, another note when I'm talking about timing, if you are trading equity, as I call it, you are going from your house to another house in the same market. Timing is completely irrelevant, because if your timing is a little bit bad and you're going to get less for your house, chances are good you're going to be able to buy the other house for a little bit less because their timing is also bad. Sellers markets mean when you sell, you get more, and when you buy, you pay more. Buyers markets mean when you sell, you get less, when you buy, you pay less. So understand the timing. The maximum money-making thing is you sell in a seller's market, you tread water, and you buy when supply is high. Life's not always that convenient, and some people don't want to suffer that inconvenience of 2 moves, renting something, treading water, and waiting. However, purely economics without the emotion, you want to sell in a high demand market where there's high buyers, no supply. You want to buy when there's high supply and low buyers. We are seeing that right now, some areas of the country. We're seeing higher supply goes up, limited buyers, and there are some circumstances, for example, if you're moving from here, Buffalo, New York, where it's still a very strong seller's market, maybe to some areas in the South or out California, Texas, Florida, where there's additional supply, more supply than they've had in a while, and a little less demand, it's probably an optimum move to get out of here before winter. and then to make that purchase or getting close to optimum. But all of that is trying to time the market exactly. And if you bought stocks and people say, don't time the market, we're talking about subtleties here when we're talking about timing. 5 houses all went up on the market on your street, all within your same block, all at the same time. And you have the convenience of waiting, you might want to wait. But if there's limited supply, buyers are strong, do it. That's a go sign. You want to have maximum exposure, as I call it, marketing that converts. So if you've got your house curb appeal, you've priced it right, interior appeal, your timing is good, there's limited supply. Now here is where you get your pro to get you exposure on all of the 3 major websites, homes.com, realtor.com, Zillow, all of the national franchise websites, Century 21, ERA, Caldwell Banker, Remax, Keller Williams, all of the local broker websites, Howard Hanna, Hunt, Metro, the little local brokers in Western New York. So at the end of the day, what you want to have is marketing that converts. It converts by A, professional photography, 3D tours, video, anything that gives you an edge in the market. Anything that shows your house and puts it in the best possible light. And that is up to you and the professional you choose to hire. And there is a distinct and giant difference in professionals. In Western New York, for example, there's 2,600 agents. The top 10% do about 90% of the volume. That's not by mistake. Those top agents didn't wake up and go, well, I just fell out of bed and had all this business. No, it's persistence, it's consistency, and it's professionalism. They set themselves apart by making sure their houses are presented as well as they can make them. Does that mean every listing every agent gets is going to be presented well? Absolutely not, because out of the 2,600, I would tell you probably, 2,000, you really need to look at what they did before. So when you're interviewing an agent, go on realtor.com and look at the houses they sold and look how they presented it. Look what they did for photography. Look at what they did in the description. How did they write the description? Look at what they did in the details. If you remember a podcast or 2 ago, I talked about the little detail things that agents do behind the scenes that gives you a leg up. Marketing that converts includes professional presentation, website distribution, follow-up, all of the things and consistency of action so that you know that when you are going to the market, you have a drumbeat, I'm going to shake everything, drumbeat of activity that is telling the market your house is for sale and telling everyone, the entire world. When you are trying to maximize your value, there is no benefit in keeping your house a secret. People do this all the time. They'll say, I don't want my neighbors to know. Yes, you do. You want everyone to know. You want the guy at the coffee shop down the street to say, hey, I see your house is for sale. You want people to share it. You want your friends and family to take their favorite website and share the listing. You want your agent to have it published. You want to have your agent following up with a list of people that have identified themselves through the ML as having interest. You want an agent that answers the phone when the call occurs. You want somebody that's going to follow up with showings to get you feedback and get you direct market input to generate offers and answer questions. All of that is getting a good marketing team to work for you. Good agent is functionally worth every dime in that marketing. Now that you've gotten it prepared, presented, staged, ready to go, you hired an agent, agent's got the sign out front, you've had professional photography, it's been exposed now out on hundreds of websites. You're getting in, your agent's now getting inbound requests. Make it available to show at a moment's notice. Friday at 2, somebody wants to see it at 4. Make it available. Saturday at 9, somebody wants to see it at 10. Make it available. I know you got to live at the house, but if you priced it well, you will get a lot of activity. One of my favorite techniques in order to make it as convenient as possible for the seller, and also statistically, best time to hit a house on the market is Thursday or Friday morning, because the weekend is when the buyers will look, is I like to hit the house market on a Thursday night and start showings Friday afternoon, like at 3 or 4. And it sounds weird but what it does is as soon as it hits the market, the sellers showing requests will start to come in for those time frames. And if you are going to have a busy weekend by Friday at 2, you will know if you got 14 showings or 42 or 2. If you're getting 42 showings over a weekend, back up the kids, throw the dog in the back of the car, get yourself a VRBO, and get the heck out of there for 3 or 4 days. Because by the time you come back, your agent will have 8 offers and you'll be having sold house. If you're not getting a ton of showings, just make it available with like an hour's notice. Have yourself prepared. One of the things I did every time I've moved is I talked to you about those bins and totes. I had them labeled. First time I moved from a house in a village to a more rural house, I had smaller children. And so anytime we'd get a short notice showing, we would have whatever things they were playing with. We'd have a bin in their room. All of them would go in the bin right away. Kids would pick up their toys, put them in the bin, cover the bin, label them, take the 3 bins for each of the kids down in the basement, and we were out of the house with the dogs within 40 minutes. Make sure in the morning when you are in that showing process, when you get up, you use the bathroom, you have towels, you brush your teeth, you shave, your hair dryers. Before you leave, although you may not on a regular basis, when you live in the house, you may not make your bed and fold the towels in the bathroom and take the toilet paper and fold it in a little vacation triangle. And, you might leave some toothpaste in the sink. When you're on the market, do not do that. Coffee cups in the morning don't go in the sink. They go in the dishwasher or they get washed and put away. Get everything prepared. So on a moment's notice, showing access is the key. And oftentimes, the buyer that's most excited saw the listing, drove by the house, loved the curb appeal because you've done what you're supposed to do, called their agent or texted their agent. Their agent hit the button, is requesting a showing within an hour because the buyer's in your market and is ready to act. Do not drag it. Let them in. That's factor number 6. Factor 7, negotiate from strength, not from weakness. Get a good negotiator, a good agent, an agent that's had some success, an agent that's had some experience. And then recognize that you have done everything. If you've done the other 6 factors and you've priced it well, your negotiation strength will be increased significantly because you'll get more than one offer. Or you have a buyer that is acting with purpose, with fear of losing the house before you get multiple offers. So it's not uncommon today for you to hit the house on a Friday afternoon, somebody to show up Friday night and submit an offer that's well over list price within an hour. And I'll tell you why they're doing that. They recognize you did the curb appeal. You priced it right. You've got a pristine interior. You've timed your market well. You have a real estate pro that's not going to let any dimes lay around on the floor. You've made it available, and that means other buyers are going to be there to buy it too. So they're acting of fear of loss. And when they're acting of fear of loss and you are in control, that is how you make the most money. You are in control of the negotiation because the buyer cannot afford to lose because they may not get another house that has curb appeal, that's pristine presented, that has professional photography, that has exposure in the property, that makes them desire the property, and they do not want to lose it. And if you have a good agent, and another, Something else I'm going to say, and agents may not want to, you may not want to hear this, but they may not want to hear it, but this is a bit of a fact. 10% of the agents do 90% of the business. Those agents traditionally are negotiating with a buyer's agent for you from a position of strength. If you imagined a poker table and there's a guy with a bunch of chips and there's a guy with none, traditionally the guy with the chips can overwhelm the guy with very few chips. And this may be a social commentary, but the agents that are doing $20, $30 million a year, they're not going to panic if they're not going to panic in a negotiation. They have plenty of chips. If you want to stack your chips in your favor, price it right. Prepare your curb appeal. Have your interior of your house pristine. Pick a time where the supply is low and the demand is high. Get a real estate pro that is a champ at negotiating, is a very good poker player, and has a lot of chips on their side. They have no fear of loss. They don't care about losing that sale. They care about making you happy. That's the most important thing. And there are agents that don't sell a lot that are driven by that as well. So numbers aren't the only reason. Look at reviews, look at presentation, look at what other clients that have dealt with them have said, and look at whether or not they're fighters or floppers. You want a fighter. You want a fighter. You want a fighter. You want a fighter. That doesn't mean unpleasant to other people. That means they fight and they dig. When things are dark and you need that extra oomph in that negotiation, they will do their best for you. You want an agent that's sleepless if things are going a little bumpy, that are thinking of ways to help you overcome things constantly because they're in it with you. They're in the trenches with you. Make it available. Make it available to be shown and win the negotiation. Get yourself, by doing these things, into that position of control and strength where you are picking offers based on what's best for you. Timing, pricing, convenience. What are they giving you? And then you can decide what to give them in return, which is your home. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Hopefully you follow my guidance when you're thinking about selling a house. Do not be shy about interviewing multiple agents when you're going through this process. But if you do the following 7 things, this gives you the best chance of getting the most money. And I think ultimately when you're selling your largest single equity investment, which is your primary residence, price it right. Have your curb appeal ready. Have the interior catalog show ready for the photos. Make sure your timing is right in the market. Not time of the year, time of supply versus demand. Hire a very good real estate pro. Interview, hire the ones that really know what they're doing. Make sure your property is available once you've done all that to show it. Get yourself in a control mode. You're in charge. Your destiny is no longer at the will of the gods of real estate, or karma and real estate, as they call it. Your destiny has been taken control of by you. You've done all of that so that when you go into the negotiation, you're the card shark. You have all the chips, and you've hired somebody that brings a lot of chips to the table as well. And the two of you can't be beat in negotiating the best possible price for the house. Thanks for listening. This is You Own It, episode 16. Tonight's the season opener. Go Irish. Thank you so much for tuning in to You Own It. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any resources mentioned during the show. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on your favorite podcast apps, and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and greatest. All of our social channels are clickable in the show notes as well. I'd also like to remind you to check out our website, c21jerry.com. There you'll find more info on me as well as my latest listings for all of Western New York. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, through any big decision, you own it.